Okay, good evening, dear friends. We are right now going to be doing the 14th day of the Daily Mitzvah, and we are continuing the theme of mitzvahs, many mitzvahs, that the Torah tells us that we are forbidden, all in the theme of idol worship and stuff that the pagans do. So, let us get on. We got a whole bunch of mitzvahs once again today. Mitzvah number one for today. The first groupings of mitzvahs that we're going to be doing today is about somebody who incites, encourages another Jew to serve an idol. And that is absolutely forbidden. That's the first mitzvah. One Jew is not allowed to incite and encourage another Jew. And the Rambam actually uses the Hebrew word of seduction. You're not allowed to seduce, an idolatrous seduction, that another Jew should serve an idol. And if there's a Jew who does, on an individual basis, try seducing and inciting another Jew to bow down to an idol and to worship an idol, he shall be put to death by the hands of his own victim. That's the words of the Torah. The victim's hand shall be the one, as an agent of the court, when he is found guilty, to put this man to death. Okay, the next mitzvah, and here we have a whole bunch of mitzvahs which are all about how the victim of this perpetrator, of this inciter, how he should treat him. So the second mitzvah for today is that the victim of this predator, it is forbidden for him to love his predator. Simple as that, which is a very big exception to the rule. Generally, there's a mitzvah you have to love every single Jew. The Torah specifically gives you this exception, that when it comes to somebody who preys on another Jew, trying to incite him to bow down to an idol, the Torah says, "Lo yisei v'lo," you shall not love him. Third mitzvah, it is forbidden for the victim to ease and soften the hate for his idolatrous predator, for his idolatrous seductor. Is that the word? Seducer. Okay. Rather, the Torah says you must hate him, and you have to hold on. You have to force yourself to hate him. And if you don't hate him, that is the violation of this mitzvah, that the victim must hate the person who tried getting him to worship an idol, which is once again a very big exception to the rule. Generally speaking, you're not allowed to hate a Jew in Yiddishkeit. You have to hate, you have to help every single Jew and come to their aid, even if you don't like them. But the exception is this person, somebody who preyed on you and tried getting you to worship an idol. Next mitzvah, the fourth mitzvah for today, once again, it is forbidden for the victim to save his predator if he'll see that his predator is in a dangerous situation, is in a life and death situation, and you could come to his aid and save his life. You're not allowed to do that, which is once again a big exception. Generally speaking, a Jew is not allowed to turn a blind eye to another Jew in danger, and he has to step in and save another Jew from dying or from whatever danger he's in. But in this case, the Torah clearly tells us, "V'lo yisachis einecha," and your eyes shall not have pity on him. Fifth mitzvah for today, once again, the victim. This is the law, that once we get this predator, this seducer, and we bring him to court of law, and we start a court proceeding against him to try him in the court of law, it is forbidden for the victim to raise any favorable objection that may paint his predator in a good light and may vindicate him against being found guilty in the court of law, which is once again a very, very big exception, because usually in Yiddishkeit, according to Torah law, the court has to try to exhaust all avenues of finding and bringing in anybody who can bring evidence that will paint and will vindicate the defendant. But in this case, the victim is not allowed to say anything that may ease the punishment and may find him not guilty. The next mitzvah is that it's forbidden for the victim to withhold critical, incriminating information about his predator. Rather, if he knows something which will help the court of law find this man guilty, he must share it, because such a person must be found guilty if he is trying to incite other Jews to worship an idol. Those are the mitzvahs that have to do with a person, with the seducer, with the predator, and the victim. Next mitzvah. And here we go to a few mitzvahs about false prophecy. The next mitzvah, I'm already losing count of what the mitzvah is. Maybe it's the sixth mitzvah or something like that. It is forbidden for a Jew to say a prophecy in the name of an idol, which means he's not allowed to say that God told him. God, I'm a prophet. A Jew's not allowed to say this, that I'm a prophet and God spoke to me and God commanded me that we must begin serving this idol, this pagan deity, and this is the way to do it. Or he's not allowed to say that this idol came to me in a prophecy and told me to begin worshiping it, and he promised me this reward or this punishment, etc. This is what the false prophets of these pagan idols delude themselves into thinking, that they're having these prophecies, and a Jew is not allowed to do that. Okay, next mitzvah is that if there's such a prophet, a false prophet, who speaks in the name of idols, or says that God told him that we should begin worshiping idols, it is forbidden for a Jew to listen and to pay any attention to such a person who says such false prophecies. Don't debate him, don't ask him, don't start interrogating him, don't ask him for miracles, don't ask him for proofs. Which means usually if there's a Jew who shows up and says, I'm a prophet of Hashem, there's a whole system in Jewish law of how to test this prophet and how to determine that this prophet is indeed a real prophet. So we go through a certain process, and it's very interesting. You can look it up. A whole process how to make sure that this guy who's saying I'm a prophet is not a fraudster, and that he's not an imposter and not a fraud, but that he's actually a prophet coming and bringing you communications from Hashem. But the Rambam says, but the moment the guy says anything about idolatry, telling you that we should begin serving an idol, boom, he's canceled. You don't even begin the process, don't debate him, don't ask him for signs. Rather, what the Rambam says is right away warn him that what he's doing is dangerous, and if he continues doing what he's doing, he is going to be put to death at the hands of a Jewish court. And if he continues doing his shtick and offering these prophecies about worshiping idols, then we should begin court proceedings against him to find him guilty. Okay, the next mitzvah is it's forbidden for a Jew to offer a false prophecy, which means a Jew is not allowed to say that Hashem spoke to me in a prophecy if that never happened. Or it is forbidden for a Jew to take somebody else's prophecy and claim that it's his prophecy, that Hashem told him to me, when really Hashem didn't tell it to you, Hashem told it to somebody else. This is called a false prophet, and also a false prophet is a very, very serious violation. Such a person, if found guilty, is put to death at the hands of the Sanhedrin of the Jewish High Court, Jewish Supreme Court. The next mitzvah is that if there's a false prophet, we should not fear him, which means it could be a little bit intimidating. There's a man who's coming and saying that I speak in the name of the Lord, and it could be a little bit intimidating and scary for the Jewish people and for the courts to start beginning to try this person, and he could be scared that he has certain spiritual powers and can hurt you. So there's a mitzvah in the Torah clearly that you are not allowed to fear him, and you should not be scared to administer to him his due punishment. And you shall be certain that he's a false prophet and he cannot harm you. And this is a clear mitzvah in the Torah. The next mitzvah is moving into the next theme. We're done with false prophecies. The next mitzvah is it is forbidden for a Jew to swear, to make an oath in the name of an idol, of a pagan deity, even if he is making an oath to a Gentile, to a non-Jew who does worship these idols. Also included in this mitzvah, it is forbidden for a Jew to cause a non-Jew, a pagan believer, to make an oath in his idol's name, which means a Jew simply cannot, either himself or encourage somebody else, to even utter the name of a idol, of a deity. Included in this mitzvah is that a Jew should simply never never utter the name of a idol, and not even for reference, which means, for example, you shouldn't tell somebody else, let's meet up at this corner where there's a statue of this pagan god. Don't do that. You're uttering his name, and Jews aren't allowed to do that. That's part of this mitzvah. Okay, we have 3 more mitzvahs left, and here's where it gets fun. We have 3 mitzvahs. The Rambam is going to describe to us 3 really wacky, paranormal, psychic type of practices of the pagans of old, and you're not allowed to do any of these 3 specific stuff. So this is like psychic, spirit stuff, okay? Well, the Rambam doesn't take any of these people seriously. He's saying that it's all a show, how do you call it, like a clairvoyance, like all these things are made up. The Rambam doesn't buy into these people. They're just fooling the masses because people love this stuff and people eat this stuff up and buy into it, along with the Brooklyn Bridge. So here we have 3. Okay, first mitzvah of this category, which is probably like the 11th mitzvah from today. I don't know where we're holding. Okay, it is forbidden for a Jew to do the acts of ov. What's the acts of ov? They would offer incense And they would do a bunch of stuff, a bunch of hocus pocus. And then they would make believe as if they are hearing sounds emerging from under their armpits, which is responding to their questions. So they could see into the future. Again, clairvoyant type of stuff and spirits type of stuff and psychic type of stuff. This is forbidden for a Jew to do. Okay? Next mitzvah. There's something called the idolatrous practice of Yidoni, which is another psychic type of practice, which is what? They would take a certain bird called the Yidoah. They would take a certain bone of this bird, place it in the mouth, and then begin a whole ritual. They would offer incense and say hocus pocus and do hocus pocus until this person, the practitioner of the Yidoni, would enter into a state of trance, would enter into a trance, and all of a sudden they would begin speaking and predicting the future. Again, the Rambam does not say that these people actually succeeded at seeing the future. It was just all baloney. But you're not allowed to do it. If a Jew is a practitioner and does this Yidoni type of idol worship, that is forbidden. Okay, and the final mitzvah for today is that it's forbidden to practice the idolatrous protocol and worship called Molech, which is the way of this idol worship ritual is you take your children, give it over to the prophets of the Molech god. They would make a very, very big fire, and they would really, really make a massive fire. You would take your children and hand them over to the idolatrous practitioners, and then they would give you back your children to the father, and the father, as an agent of these false prophets, of the Molech god, would pass his children over the fire. And I don't think it would totally burn the child, but the child would probably get pretty hot and pretty scarred from this weird form of worship. And this is what they would do. Either sons and daughters. The Rambam says, if somebody does it with some of their children, does this practice of giving their children over to the Molech god, that is the prohibition. That is this violation of this mitzvah. And dear friends, with that we conclude today's daily mitzvah. A bunch of new mitzvahs, a bunch of more mitzvahs, all on the theme of idolatry and their customs and their forms of worship that we're not allowed to do in false prophecy. And with that, we conclude today's daily mitzvah. See you all tomorrow for our next installment. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful day. Seid gesund.